Is correct.
Okay, because I did check with him a little while ago. He says your producer can't hear me.
Interlocks, Laper Stair, Latrim Machinery, and
He
Latrim
just texted
Machine
me.
Shop. The people of
So
these
he's trying to
companies have
answer.
patented hundreds of new
Text him to
inventions
call
used
in.
around the world.
Yeah, can let me have him call you?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, 800, what is it? 800?
Visit Latrim.com
504
for a full listing of
260,
positions.
right?
Yeah, 260-1280.
Okay.
Behavior, lack of eye contact. You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Jennifer Coolidge. The American Heart Association says the disco song Stayin' Alive is the near-perfect beat for hands-only CPR. If you see a teen or adult collapse from cardiac arrest, you only need 2 steps to help save a life. Call 911 and push hard and fast in the center of the chest to the beat of the song Stayin' Alive. Disco is back and it's saving lives. To learn more, go to heart.org/hands-only-CPR.
Nationally supported by the WellPoint Foundation.
For over 80 years, in the heart of Mid-City,
We
where
got
it's
the
always
Lions
been,
Saints game
is
on
a
the
New Orleans
line.
Here we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Come in for some New Orleans staples.
So that means
Old-style New Orleans food.
they would take it off.
Right.
Atmosphere. And some of the best seafood in the city. Always New Orleans. Always the best. Always Mandina's.
This is
All right, we got Pat.
Awesome.
on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back, Dunc and Holder. Jumping right into it here today on a Tuesday. Pleased to be joined once again by Pat Forde, Yahoo Sports national college columnist. And Pat has been busy. Football season, of course, keeps you busy. And then when scandal erupts in college basketball that could change the landscape of the entire system, I think it's kept Pat pretty busy. And Pat, I even asked Jeff right before we came on the show, and actually during the show, can you even consider Rick Pitino a Louisvillian anymore? Has he gotten out of Dodge? Has he gone to Grand Cayman? Has he, has he flown the coop? But yeah, it's been a pretty hectic couple of weeks for you, I would assume.
Oh, it's been crazy, no doubt about it, and probably a lot more crazy to come. But as for Pitino, he left for Miami within like 2 or 3 days after this thing blowing up, and I think he put his house up for sale already. I mean, he's out of here. So people can decide, I guess, what they want as far as they want to consider him a Louisvillian anymore, but I don't think Rick considers himself one.
Pat, what do you make of this whole scandal? It came out of nowhere. I was actually over in London when it all broke, and my phone was blowing up. I was up in Beelsby, England, on a tractor combine out in the middle of a field on a story assignment, and I'm getting all these texts about Louisville. And what surprised me, and I finally had a chance to kind of dive into it, is the fact that just the FBI is involved. It's so unusual for the FBI to be dipping their hand into college basketball. What is? I know there was a reason for that, because the guy, I guess the man they were using to infiltrate this college system, they had the goods on him. But isn't it unusual for the FBI to be involved in college athletics?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to hijack the interview here, but what the heck were you doing on a tractor combine?
I was working on a story.
No, Jeff's becoming a farmer.
I was working on a story on Thomas Morstead, the Saints punter, who's his entire family is from Northern England. They own a farm up there, and he learned to punt.
Really?
He learned to punt a rugby ball going into England, and the farming family was showing me how the system worked up there. So that's where I was literally when the FBI story broke.
Hey, that's a way to research a story, buddy. Good job.
No stone unturned, Pat.
Yeah, I was not on a farm or tractor combine when the story broke, but I was similarly shocked. Yeah, it was crazy to hear that this is tied to law enforcement, federal crimes, and they were not guessing here. They got wiretaps, they got video surveillance. I mean, they've got the goods on these people, and yeah, this is why think we may finally get to the bottom of the dirty stuff that goes on in college basketball, because this is not an NCAA case, and the NCAA lacks the power and probably the wherewithal to get to the bottom of it. So the feds are going to do it. And now we may finally be able to pull back the curtain all the way and see everything that goes on, and the ripple effect could be incredible from this. I mean, I had one coach estimate that 100 coaches could end up getting caught up in this thing. Basically, if you have a team in a Power 5 conference and you recruit top 100 players, you're probably going to be at least under suspicion, if not flat out end up entangled in this thing.
I don't think any of this surprises anybody that is close to college basketball or has covered it for a while. It seems to me like the ultimate end game in here is that the shoe companies' influence is finally going to be exposed, just how far their roots are into college basketball. And it started obviously with the Adidas schools, but it sounds like Nike could be next.
Absolutely. Yeah, they've subpoenaed people in the Nike Elite Youth Basketball League. Merle Code, who's one of the guys who actually they're being arraigned today in New York, who was one of the Adidas guys that got arrested in this. Before that, he worked for Nike. He spent more years working for Nike than he did with Adidas. And if you think he just kind of learned the tricks of the trade with Adidas, I doubt it. So, yeah, there could be a bunch of Nike schools implicated in this. You know, so far Under Armour has escaped scrutiny, but that may not last. It's going to go everywhere. I have a reasonable belief. And, yeah, I mean, the shoe company influence has been toxic for a long time, and schools put up with it because they like the money. They enjoyed the contracts and the perks they got from the shoe companies. But also the agent part of the business has just been, rampant as far as their meddling and paying young people even before college. So that's going to be part and parcel of this as well. But I think there's a lot of influences in college basketball who have really kind of, sullied the waters, and we're going to finally find out the extent of it now.
Pat Forde, Yahoo Sports national college columnist, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Follow him on Twitter at Yahoo Forde. Pat, you say that you talk to coaches and they feel like maybe 100 coaches may be entangled in this. If it's that widespread, or even cut it in half, or cut it in a fourth, even if 25 are involved, and what can the NCAA do about this? Can they do anything about this? How much? It's probably just all thrown up in the air. But where do you go from there? You've already got the big name with Rick Pitino involved. But even if, like I said, even if it's a fourth of 100, 25, where do you go from here?
Yeah, that's the thing. The one thing I think this points out is the powerlessness that the NCAA has had to police its own system, and now they're going to have a chance to do it. So how seriously do they take it? I think they have to, from a credibility standpoint of the entire enterprise, take it extremely seriously and pursue this as far as they need to and as long as they need to. And I've had one person estimate it could take like 3 or 4 years for all this thing to sort out, because you've got the legal investigation going on, and that's not going to be any slow process. And then, basically, after that, presumably, is when the NCAA would get into the mix. I mean, they're certainly, I'm sure, monitoring this, but I don't think that they can just actively dive in until they get the information from the feds, and I don't know whether they're sharing that at this point. So, schools can dig into their own backyards while this is happening, but how willing are they going to want to be? I mean, Louisville obviously has to, because they're already basically, up the creek from an NCAA perspective. But how about other schools? I mean, quite frankly, I'm surprised Bruce Pearl is still employed at Auburn. I'm surprised Sean Miller hasn't been suspended at all at Arizona. Nothing has happened yet at Miami. So there's still a lot of shoes that could drop, and that's just the schools we know about, which is about now a group of about 7 or 8 or 9. And, yes, I would expect that to double, triple, quadruple, who knows what thereafter.
Pat, let's switch gears and go into some college football talk. Your 40-yard dash column that runs every week just dropped a while ago, and we were interested in your thoughts on LSU's start. Obviously, they kind of salvaged things a little bit. Ed Ogeron and his staff right the ship for at least a week with a win against Florida. And frankly, Florida looks a lot like LSU, kind of shaky quarterback play, good defense, kind of pedestrian offense. But now LSU's got Auburn coming up at home. It's obviously a huge game. What's your take so far on Ed Ogeron's tenure and the struggles early on, losing to Troy and obviously getting trucked by Mississippi State?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's been about as futile as I kind of expected it would be. I had very low expectations. I didn't think Ed Orgeron was a great hire, and that has borne out. Now, I mean, even I didn't expect they would lose to Troy. That's bad. That's really bad. And yes, you can come back and beat Florida, and that's a nice comeback win to bounce back after, I think everybody was way down on LSU at that point. So that's a good rallying win there. But it's going to be week to week. You know how it is, I mean, in the SEC, and I wrote about this, actually. It's so funny. So many fan bases are so mad at their coaches that basically it's week to week fire the coach, depending where you are. And they're all going to play each other, and they're going to beat each other, and it's going to be Ed's got to go. It's going to be Bielema's got to go. It's going to be Sumlin's got to go. Butch Jones has got to go. Barry Odom has got to go. So that's kind of the cycle that we're in right now. I just, I think for a long time LSU has failed to fully utilize its talent, and the belief that Ed Orgeron was going to magically change that as opposed to Les Miles, it seemed nearsighted at best, and it hasn't proven out. Now, you go and beat Auburn, that changes the dynamic pretty significantly, because I think Auburn's good. I mean, I think they're a top 10 team. If you can win that game, then we start having a little bit different conversation.
Pat Forde, Yahoo Sports National College columnist, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Pat, how bizarre was it when you caught wind of Ed Orgeron meeting with Joe Oliva, with Matt Canada, and with Dave Aranda?
Yeah, that's a sign that some panic buttons are being hit.
Just a little.
Yeah, and I mean, look, Joe Oliva's, I wrote this weeks ago, Joe Oliva's neck is on the line here too. He was the one that decided we're gonna keep it in house. We're gonna get the Cajun boy. We're gonna get a Louisiana guy in there, despite the fact that he has a terrible record as a head coach, and so his neck's on the line too. So I guess he's ready to try to micromanage this thing to save himself and to try to save the season. Whether maybe it was a necessary intervention, maybe somebody needs to step in and tell Ed to quit meddling and let the coordinators that are extremely highly paid do their jobs. It certainly seemed like a little bit more of a Matt Canada offense against Florida, but still it was an offense that scored 17 points. And I know Florida's defense is good, but that's not an indication to me that all is well yet at this point.
Pat, talking about the Tulane Green Wave, I wrote a column today, probably not going to be the most popular guy in the state, saying that you could actually, for the first time in maybe 2 decades, make an argument that Tulane is the best football program in the state right now. I know in the computer rankings, they're right behind LSU in all these computer models. I know perception-wise, no one would ever try to put Tulane in the same paragraph with LSU, but Willie Fritz and what he's doing there I think is very underrated across the country. And he's kind of an underrated guy. He's not the sexiest head coaching hire. He was in his 50s. He came from smaller programs. But what he's doing at Tulane I think has to start getting some notice nationally.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'll say this, and this is one thing, teams I'm sure hate playing at 11 a.m., 10 a.m., whatever the case may be, 11 Eastern, 10 Central. But people will notice because you're the first game. And I sure as heck noticed when those scores started rolling up against Tulsa, and it's 48 points in the first half. You're like, oh, my gosh. A, is Tulsa that bad? But B, hey, maybe Tulane is getting good. And you're right. I mean, Willie Fritz, he's a sharp coach. He doesn't come with the name or whatever. He doesn't have a power school pedigree. His offense is very old school, but what's wrong with old school? It works. I look at Ken Niumatalolo at Navy, probably one of the most undervalued coaches out there, runs the option, wins 10 games every year at Navy. So I think there's very much a place for that, especially in the modern climate, to be able to basically counter program and play a way that people aren't used to seeing. So he's done a great job, and I'm sure they're very excited at Tulane, and they should be. I mean, I'm going to definitely have my eye on them the rest of the season.
Hey, Pat, and Navy barely beat Tulane at home earlier this year. So it was, look, I do think it's something to where you got to start paying attention to Tulane. And I said, look, Jeff, I don't think your column is that trollish for once. I think, Jeff, you actually got some clout. No one's gonna, at least one side of the spectrum's gonna love Jeff on this one. So that's good. Good job, Jeff.
Well, look, let's face it, Pat. I think you hit the nail on the head. LSU's kind of underachieved and failed to take advantage of the recruiting haul in this state year after year, especially the last few years. All the players, and we see what Leonard Fournette's doing in the NFL right now, all these other LSU players on rosters, and annually they've underachieved, and yet here you have a program in New Orleans that can probably start getting some of these 3-star recruits, the guys that Tulane has to get in the state, like Dontrell Hilliard, the running back. There's plenty of talent in this state if you can keep it home at Tulane to be competitive and be, a borderline top 25 team year in, year out and make a bowl game. There's no reason why they can't do that with the talent that's in Louisiana.
Sure. No, you're exactly right, and there's so much right there in New Orleans. And if you can get those kind of guys, I liken it a little bit to like Butler basketball. You go get the second-tier, third-tier guys in Indiana, you're still getting good players. You coach them up right, and you're going to beat a lot of people. And I think Tulane, you could theoretically look at that the same way, that there's going to be so many, good players that are a little overlooked, maybe a little under radar, maybe a little too small for their position or whatever, and you give them a chance in a good scheme, and you're going to beat people. I mean, you look around the American Athletic Conference, why can't Tulane be very competitive in that?
Pat Forde, Yahoo Sports National College columnist. Hey, Pat, appreciate the time as always, and I'm sure we will be talking to you again soon because I'm sure Coach O will do something absurd. So I'm sure we'll have you back on the show at some point. But, hey, bud, appreciate it as always.
Thanks. I'll be ready. Jeff, stay off the tractors for a while, will you?
Doing my best, trying to stay away from you. I was as much a fish out of water as anybody, by the way, on that tractor combine, Pat.
I'm surprised you didn't start singing I Think My Tractor's Sexy. That would have been hot.
I was looking for a bass fishing pond. I didn't know. Do they have bass in England?
They just have cod, I guess. Hey, Pat, see you, buddy.
All right, see you guys.
All right. Pat Forde, Yahoo Sports. Always fun when we get him on the show. Tells it like it is, and some uplifting national perspective from Pat Forde on Tulane. I think that's telling.
Yeah, they got to keep it going. Florida International this week. If they can get a win there, that's 4 wins, 2 away from being bowl eligible.
Absolutely. But coming up next, we'll take a deeper dive into LSU. Chris Dabe, our colleague at NOLA.com and Times-Picayune, of course, covers the LSU Tigers up in Baton Rouge. He will join us here next. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
Yeah, he was good.
Your forecast on Sports 1280.
See, he made the point I've been making about the whole
This report is brought to you by the French Market.
Why is Louisville the only one that's done anything?
Happy Tuesday.
They fired their
from the Fox State
AD,
Weather
their
Center. I'm
Hall of Fame head
meteorologist
coach.
Shelby Latino.
No one else has
We
done
have a
shit.
40% chance for rain today.
Ridiculous.
A few showers starting north of the lake and a few more developing south of the lake as we get into the afternoon hours. Temperatures will climb into the upper 80s this afternoon. Temperatures will fall into the mid-70s overnight on both sides of the lake. From the Fox State Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shelby Latino. Have a great day.
Crescent City Farmers Market returns to the French Market District every Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. beginning October 18th with live music and an assortment of local fresh produce, seafood, and products. Learn more at FrenchMarket.org.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser. Louisiana is more than just a place to visit. It's our way of life, and that means being outdoors.
All right, we got Dabe.
People who camp,
Thanks.
bike, paddle, and hiked our state parks last year, as we invite you to do the same. Every corner of Louisiana has something to offer. From the world-class fishing at Toledo Bend to paddling at Fontainebleau to exploring the ancient mounds at Poverty Point World Heritage Site. So fill up your car and staycation right here in our home, Louisiana.
Migraine is a disabling disease affecting over 36 million Americans. The American Migraine Foundation helps people living with migraine to find the support and treatment they need. Make your move against migraine at AmericanMigraineFoundation.org.
We interrupt your broadcast to bring you
from Wendy's that can only be described as a giant Junior Bacon Cheeseburger. A delicious anomaly doubling the size and taste of Wendy's iconic Junior Bacon Cheeseburger. Double the bacon, double the cheese, and good heavens, double the fresh, never frozen beef. And what's this? A Wendy's giant Junior Bacon Cheeseburger with nuggets, fries, and a drink for just $5? Run to your nearest Wendy's.
At participating Wendy's for a limited time. Meal includes small fries and a drink. Not valid in Alaska and Hawaii. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
Oh, yeah! Going deep on the teams you care about. Sport.
Oh, Jeff, you've caused some wildfire. Columns posted. I'm reading the headline. Is Tulane the best team in the state? It's no longer a ludicrous proposition. Woo-hoo-hoo! Spicy!
I don't think it is when you look at the computer models. Perception-wise, there's a chasm between what people think of Tulane and LSU. And here's my point. I didn't get into the fact that if they played each other because, I mean, let's put the cart before the horse. I mean, we're not even halfway through the season. Let's see what happens. But there's no doubt in my mind if LSU played Tulane 10 times, they'd win 8 of them, maybe more. But in a one-game proposition, anything could happen. And on a short week of preparation, look, we watched Mississippi State run over, around, and through LSU. I have no faith that LSU would stop that triple option in a short week.
Well, that's all you need to know, and I'm sure that's what LSU fans are hearing about all this week. And joining us right here on the show, Chris Dabe, NOLA.com, Times-Picayune, LSU beat writer. And Chris, you were in Gainesville. You saw it firsthand. Jeff and I talked about it yesterday's show. I do have to give credit to the coaching staff and the players that they played with effort, and it's an effort we probably haven't seen in a while, and yet it was still by the skin of their teeth, 17-16 beating Florida. Chris, just your firsthand perspective of what you saw in the Swamp on Saturday.
Yeah, I had a similar thought, even as the game was kind of winding down, and it was 17-16 that really rightfully could have been 17-17 if they make that extra point. But just the fact that it was that close and there was that effort after the week that they had, after the loss to Troy, and all those meetings early in the week, it just certainly seemed like almost there was like a sense of chaos or panic going on at the LSU football building. And it certainly seemed like they put things together enough to compete like they did. So that was definitely something that stood out. And then a little more specific within the game, LSU in the second half, they come out, they score first drive, 17-13, they're up. And then Florida, back-to-back drives, just runs the ball right over LSU, 2 touchdowns, makes it that one-point game, and then Florida gets the ball back again, and that was a pretty big moment to see how would the LSU defense respond there, and they stop them, force a punt, force another punt, and then get the turnover on down. So where they gave up about 150 yards in 2 drives, and then after that, pretty well limited them. I thought that said a lot too in that environment and everything that they were able to kind of withstand throughout the week.
Chris, one of the eye-opening takeaways from Coach O's press conference yesterday was his response to a question about Arden Key and his lack of productivity, and he kind of let it slip that Arden Key at one point was at around 270 pounds, and now he's down to 255. But he doesn't look anything like the same player we saw a year ago. What happened there? Did he just get out of shape that poorly? Was it because of his shoulder surgery rehab? He couldn't work out? It just seems like a massive amount of weight to put on in one offseason.
Yeah, there is quite a bit of mystery around that, and anybody that reach out to try and figure out exactly what took place either in the spring or throughout the summer. That's been a challenge, but that was the first time that Ed Orgeron really put that number connected to Arden Key's weight, the 270 pounds. All along he's been saying 265, 260, and he's trying to get him down to 255. And yeah, those aren't lightweights either. The 265 that is, but for him to say 270, that kind of jumped out. And he said it in such passing that I'm not sure many of us really caught on to it until afterwards, and listen back and hear, wait, did he say 270 pounds? And but that has been the issue with him. It seems, is getting back into shape, and he's played 4 games. He does get around the quarterback here and there, but certainly not not with the productivity that he had last year when he set a school record for sacks in a season, and kind of came into the summer as by a lot of accounts, the number 1 overall draft selection possibility. Maybe that's still out there. I don't know, but yeah, he hasn't been the feared defender that he has been in the past. Instead, it's been some other players on defense that have sort of had that sort of impact.
Well, speaking of draft prospects, here we're talking with Chris Dabe, LSU beat writer for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. You just posted a story a couple minutes ago. Darius Geis carries on for LSU despite quote-unquote nagging injury. Look, he had 17 carries, wasn't the same guy against Florida. I guess we're not going to get all the information because we haven't gotten all the information the entire offseason on Geis, but look, it seems like LSU is going to have to try to go by committee almost. You had plenty of people got touches running the football against Florida. I assume that's probably going to have to be the same way until Geis is fully healthy. Is that kind of the way you're looking at it?
Yeah, that's kind of how I view it as well. It seemed to be somewhat effective against Florida, where Geis and Darrell Williams kind of alternated series, if not plays, in some cases. And Geis ran 17 times, 50 yards. Darrell Williams 12 times for 35. Those aren't great numbers. They both averaged 2.9 yards a carry. Where they got a lot of their gain on the ground was all those jet sweeps with the 3 wideouts combining for over 100 yards, and then that big long run by Russell Gage. So while they can go by the kind of the 2-person running back committee there, on days when that jet sweep isn't so effective, then I'd really wonder where they're going to get those yards on the ground. One thing Ed Orgeron highlighted yesterday, though, in regards to Geis, is toward the end, he really did grind out some yards. He had a couple of carries, an 8-yard carry on a 2nd and 3 that he got through the hole, then hit by the safety, stayed a foot, wouldn't go down. Took another couple of guys to get him down, and that was really kind of a. I think we're used to seeing Darius Geis from last year. We'd get through the hole and then go untouched for 60 yards or so, and here this was a case where he was grinding it out, like what we've seen, I guess, Darrell Williams do a little bit more this year, where he's kind of been that power, a little bit more of that power back than maybe in the past. And so I think Ed Orgeron saw some encouragement there that maybe that can be the kind of rusher Geis is going to have to be as long as he can hold up, if he's not going to be getting those game-breaking runs.
Well, Chris, encouraging performance by the defense last week. Dave Aranda's troops kind of got called on the carpet a little bit after the Troy game. They responded with one of their better efforts of the season, but Florida is limited offensively. They're kind of going through some quarterback growing pains with Felipe Franks. Now a totally different challenge. Auburn has really put it together on offense. Gus Malzahn and Jarrett Stidham, the quarterback, kind of getting that system down. The last 3 weeks they've scored 51-49 on a Mississippi State team that LSU managed to score 7 on, and then 44 last week against Ole Miss. This is a huge challenge. I think we're really going to find out what Dave Aranda's young defense is capable of against Auburn.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned Jarrett Stidham, 71% passer, and certainly seems to have a handle on that Gus Malzahn offense. And then Kerryon Johnson, he leads the SEC in yards per game. He missed a couple of games, and but he ran for 204 yards last week. He has 12 touchdowns on the year. So this is definitely a tougher offense that LSU will face coming up this week compared to last week, and it won't be easy for them.
Chris, one more we'll let you run. Health-wise, it looks like Frank Herron will be making his season debut. You have a story on that at NOLA.com. And then across the offensive line, we talked about a lack of depth there, and they're getting more banged up, and it seems like they're playing hurt. But how effective, A, can Frank Herron be? And the fact that we're having the clamor over a fifth-year guy who's a rotational guy is like, oh, my gosh, they need him so desperately. And then on the other side of the football, how much can they be successful considering, say, a K.J. Malone banged up? I know Will Clapp got hurt too, and all those guys played. But, look, they're almost kind of like hanging on for dear life because they have so little depth on that side.
Yeah, yesterday in practice, they had 7 scholarship offensive linemen working in shorts and shirts, and they had 7 running backs working as well. So I don't think typically you want to see the same number of offensive linemen as running backs. That's not a good sign. KJ Malone and Toby Weathersby did not practice. They both missed long stretches against Florida. KJ Malone did come back in the fourth quarter to finish out that game. They had a knee injury there. With Will Clapp, he missed one play. He was available for media interviews yesterday, and typically injured players they don't make available. I kind of take that as maybe just sort of a afternoon off for him. I'm not too concerned about that. But, yeah, with the 2 tackles, backing them up are a pair of true freshmen with Austin Deculus and Shadiq Charles. They had 3 true freshmen linemen on the field for 2 of LSU's scoring drives, so they were able to put something together. But Danny Etling also was under some pretty good pressure at times, and those 2 freshmen, Deculus and Charles, were responsible for a pair of the false starts. So I don't know if that's a line that would necessarily hold up against a pretty strong Auburn defense like they did against Florida. On the other side with Frank Herron, I think he's seen as a rotational player. Ed Orgeron referred to him as a rotational starter, whatever that really means. But I think Christian Lockature has carried a large share of that load, and with where Frank Herron could come into play is on the other side with Rashard Lawrence. He might be limited in practice this week. Of course, he missed 3 games earlier with a couple of ankle sprains, and he got banged up again late in the Florida game, but continued to play. So that there might be some use there for Frank Herron, but with him, conditioning will be an element. He was in practice yesterday. He was seen with a hoodie on and stuff underneath his jersey. So I don't know if he's trying to drop weight that way. So there's that defensive line. As depth has been such an issue with injuries, especially to Rashard Lawrence, and getting Rashard Lawrence back, if he can play a good number of snaps, that'll be a big help. But it seems like this is just going to be an ongoing thing on both sides of the line as far as depth is concerned. And with all the transfers that they had out of the program over the last year, it's something that's not really probably going to be fixed this year.
Chris Dabe, LSU beat writer for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Hey, Chris, appreciate the time as always, buddy.
Hey, thanks.
You got it. All right, let's take a break right here because when we come back, huge breaking news with the Saints. We'll leave it at that. We'll bring it back to you. We'll break it down. Plenty to talk about with this move coming up here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
Tell your children not to walk my way. Tell your children not to hear my words. What they mean, what they say, mother.
Join Corey Johnson on The Neutral Ground.
Is the sky falling already for local football?
Wow.
Didn't take long.
I don't know which team looked
Why would
worse.
the Cardinals trade
Sports
for him? I know they need running backs.
They don't have Dave Johnson.
iHeartRadio does something no other app or website can do. Thousands of live radio stations you can take anywhere. Want to listen to that station?
I mean, it's basically a
Denver,
one-year
but you're in
deal.
Philly,
They're not
no
gonna-
problem. In Austin, but you miss Seattle, no problem. Plus, iHeartRadio lets you create your own custom artist stations.
James from Metallica here. It's iHeartRadio.
Just type in the artist you love, and iHeartRadio creates a station just for you. Free radio and unlimited music all in one app. iHeartRadio.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
There's a season for everything. And right now, it's save up to 30% on appliances season at the Home Depot with special buys on innovative appliances that do more. Like a Maytag top freezer refrigerator with extra deep door bins to free up shelf space. It's just $498. You save $150. Savings are in season with up to 30% off appliances at the Home Depot.
To write about.
More
I
saving,
know, you're right.
more doing.
Been writing about him every day.
Well, pretty sure I got a column I got to write today. There goes my other column I did.
Positive Coaching Alliance. PCA is a national nonprofit organization developing better athletes and better people through youth and high school sports. For more information, visit positivecoach.org.
Sounds like a time to retweet First and 10 from a couple weeks ago.
If you've fallen behind on your taxes, you know that the IRS is already coming for their money, and they'll get it too by garnishing your wages or maybe even taking your home or business. They call it enforced compliance, and you'd better watch out because the penalties and interest compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. You need to call the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Solving tax issues is all they do. One call to Optima starts the process to stop the demand letters and stop aggressive.
All right, 30 seconds.
They get to work immediately, fighting to protect your assets and helping you put your tax problems behind you. The IRS writes off millions every year, and Optima knows all the ins and outs of the IRS's tax assistance programs that could save you thousands. So what are you waiting for? Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-798-2477. That's 800-798-2477.
10 seconds.
798-2477.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Breaking news here on Dunc and Holder. According to ESPN's Diana Rossini, the Saints have traded Adrian Peterson to the Arizona Cardinals for a conditional pick, according to her sources. And Jeff, I don't want to say that our skepticism has been correct for 6 months. Yes, I do. I do want to say our skepticism was correct for 6 months, and that we knew that this would be something that the Saints, how were they going to manage Adrian Peterson? And they've managed him for 6 months, and now he's on his way to a team that needs running backs without David Johnson, and they've struggled. But Adrian Peterson, according to ESPN, no longer with the Saints. He is an Arizona Cardinal. They get a conditional pick. And I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I do want to pat myself on the back. We were skeptical about this the whole time. Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara. Obviously, we saw that direction happen with the Dolphins game. I wrote about it a couple days before the Dolphins game that Adrian Peterson should be the odd man out. Saints, look, it didn't work. They got something for him. Now there's no more headache. They know exactly who to go with the running back core.
Well, I think when they were able to acquire Alvin Kamara in the NFL draft, everything changed in the dynamic in the backfield. He clearly is a guy that Sean Payton feels like is going to be an impact player in this offense for the future. And with Mark Ingram being the lead back, there really was no room for Adrian Peterson in this offense. His running style didn't really fit what they do, and I just didn't see it. And I think for his sake, the Saints probably said, look, this isn't the role you want. Let's send you somewhere where you can be the lead back, and he can do that in Arizona now that David Johnson is out. So I think it's a good fit for Adrian Peterson. Now, he's not going to win a Super Bowl in Arizona. That thing's getting ready to get blown up, I think.
Right.
Carson Palmer's probably going to be moving on after this year. So this might just be a Band-Aid for Adrian Peterson's career. Go try and rehabilitate your career and get a lot of carries, because he wasn't going to get that here. And then he may move on after this year. But, you know, it all comes down to what did the Saints get for him. It says a conditional pick. We don't know what that is. It could be a 7th rounder, but it could be a pretty expensive rental job. Would they give him $3 million bonus, something like that?
Yeah, we need actually from Jason of Over the Cap, who does a great job. I'm just looking at it right on Twitter, right in front of my face. Saints paid Adrian Peterson about $2.8 million for his 5 weeks on the team. Peterson gets a rare distinction of getting 2 bye weeks in a year. But, yeah, look, Adrian came essentially on a 1-year deal, and I think everyone knew that. But still, when Mark Ingram needed a number 2 back, they should have gotten just a number 2 back. I mean, we've said this, I don't know how many times we've explained this, to whether before we even started the show, when we were doing our Dat Chat podcast, when we started the show back in July, we have been on board saying we don't get the Adrian Peterson thing. And I know people, I watched practice and it's like, oh, well, maybe, hey, he had a good run or two. It's almost like I'm trying to convince myself that maybe this isn't okay move. I don't want to be totally closed-minded on it. And all he had to do was see in the regular season. There's a total reason why the Saints went into this direction. There's a total reason.
Yeah, it makes sense. It just makes even less sense why they acquired him in the first place. You and I both were very skeptical about it, and at the time it made little sense. It makes even less sense now. It made even less sense once you watched how the offense was being run. There was no room for Adrian Peterson, and he's not Tim Hightower. He's Adrian Peterson, a future Hall of Famer who wants as many carries as he can get. He just didn't fit this offense, and I'm not sure why they ever even acquired him, to be honest with you. But, hey, they got something for him, and they've moved on, so I have to credit them for righting a wrong, if you will.
2 minutes.
Yeah, and a lot of times they're having – look, Brandon Browner, they couldn't right that wrong immediately. C.J. Spiller, they couldn't right that wrong immediately. This one they could, but still – and it's not like – okay, when they signed Adrian Peterson, let's just think about this. When they signed him, it's not like they were going to be going up and acquiring someone gigantic with that cap money at that point in time. It was less than a week before the draft, and when you're at that point, you had money to play with, so they did it. But then, smartly on their part, they went and got a running back that they really wanted, an Alvin Kamara. And as we've seen, Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, perfect 1-2 punch. Kamara is capable of running the football. Both can be versatile. Adrian Peterson, not versatile. Adrian Peterson, step too slow. We'll see what they get in Arizona, but they're still not getting the same guy. Just not
1 minute.
No, and pairing him with Carson Palmer, it's got to be one of the oldest combos in the league. And Larry Fitzgerald.
No, Drew Brees and Adrian Peterson were older.
Right, but now you've got Larry Fitzgerald,
yes,
Adrian Peterson, and Carson Palmer.
And Chris Johnson.
Oh, my gosh.
That's the it's the senior citizen tour over in Arizona. Don't you usually go there to retire? You know, it's sunny. It's a great place to go.
Well, I would say this. Bruce Arians and Sean Payton are tight. They're very good friends. They dined together at the Combine this year. They probably got together on this one, I would imagine.
30 seconds.
Probably so. So we'll get more on this coming up in the next segment. And I know we've got a caller on hold. We'll take some phone callers on this. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. Adrian Peterson, no longer a New Orleans Saint, according to multiple reports. Pro Football Talk has confirmed this as well. Adrian Peterson, no longer a Saint.
10 seconds.
And we will talk more about that coming up. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeart Radio app. Dunc and Holder.
It's the second annual Wine on the River, presented by Southern Glazers, WGNO TV ABC, and NOLA 38, the CW. Join us Saturday, November 11th at Audubon Aquarium Plaza.
I would text your
sale
boy,
now
but
for only $49. So get your tickets today. Enjoy wines from around the world, great food, and live entertainment. Buy your tickets today online at wineontherivernola.com. Proceeds benefit the Louisiana Hospitality Foundation.
Because they might answer. He might answer you or me.
Sensory sensitivity, repetitious behavior, lack of eye contact. You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism
I lived that
Speaks
for
and the Ad Council.
3 years.
Join parents and experts at understood.org. A free online resource about learning and attention issues designed to help you help your child thrive in school and in life. Understood.org, because understanding is everything. Brought to you by Understood.org and the Ad Council.
WODT
I'm good.
FM HD2 New Orleans. Listen on the free iHeart Radio app. Search Sports 1280. Fox Sports trending now.
We have a rare trade today in the NFL. New Orleans Saints have shipped off Adrian Peterson to the Arizona Cardinals for a conditional pick. Meanwhile, in New York, Giants wide receivers Odell Beckham Jr., Brandon Marshall, and also Dwayne Harris all will undergo surgery today. Baltimore Ravens have signed running back Bobby Rainey. Meanwhile, in the NBA, Pelicans point guard Rajon Rondo had sports hernia surgery. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. Moving along to Major League Baseball, Cubbies and Nationals.
Rizzo hits a little pop fly, shallow left center. Turner going out. That ball is going to be a base hit. Coming in to score is Martin. Rizzo falls down. He's in a rundown between first and second. Rizzo gets tagged out, but the Cubs take the lead.
They won Game 3 2-1. Winner of that series will face the Dodgers, who advance, sweeping the D-backs. I'm David Gascon.
If you've fallen behind on your...
All right, 4 minutes, guys.
All right.
IRS is already coming for their money, and they'll get it too by garnishing your wages or maybe even taking your home or business. They call it enforced compliance, and you'd better watch out because the penalties and interest compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. You need to call the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Solving tax issues is all they do. One call to Optima starts the process to stop the demand letters and stop aggressive collection actions. They get to work immediately, fighting to protect your assets and helping you put your tax problems behind you. The IRS writes off millions every year, and Optima knows all the ins and outs of the IRS's tax assistance programs that could save you thousands.
Will Guillory and James Cratch. I'm gonna punt James. I can't punt Will.
That's 800-798.
Yeah, I'll see if we can get him tomorrow.
800-798-2477.
Right.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
This is a great time of year to get out and take a walk. And while you're at it, why not walk for a great cause? The Walk to End Alzheimer's is November 11th at Baby Cakes Field. Register at alz.org/walk. And the next day, November 12th, the New Orleans Kidney Walk will be held at Audubon Park. Go to kidneywalk.org.
This is a Crime Stoppers Most Wanted alert.
Crime Stoppers is asking you to speak up if you can help locate the person responsible for the January 2nd murder of Myesha McDaniels, who was shot in her car at approximately 9 p.m. in the 3700 block of Cleo Street. Anyone with information on Myesha McDaniels' murder is urged to speak up and call Crime Stoppers at 822-1111 or download our free Tip Submit app. You remain anonymous and can earn a $2,500 cash reward. Take a stand. Speak up with Crime Stoppers.
Welcome to Zip Poll USA. Zip is the application that allows you to vote on America's most interesting and controversial discussions. Download the Zip app today. It's Tuesday, October 10th. Hugh Hefner's wife, Crystal Harris, stayed by his side in his declining years, taking him to doctor's appointments and keeping his spirits high. Do you think her motives were pure? 57% of people polled say, no way, she just saw dollar signs. The other 43% think that her love for him was real indeed. And it's reported that Kylie Jenner has spent $70,000 on baby clothes and accessories. Are you surprised? 70% of men and women say no, she's the offspring of a fashion icon. The other 30% feel that she's going overboard 100%. Finally, an app to create world peace, or maybe just prove your point. Now you can poll the masses by downloading Zip, the question answer app, in the App Store.
iHeartRadio. All your favorite music, all your favorite stations, all free. And now, with football season in full swing, let's be honest, most of your week is focused on your fantasy team or teams. No reason to leave the iHeartRadio app, because now we have the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. 24/7 interactive fantasy talk and advice so you can dominate your league. Get your fantasy...
All right, 30 seconds.
Okay.
On the app, Fantasy Sports Radio Network.
All right, I got James for tomorrow.
When do we...
We're going to call Will still at 11:15.
15, okay.
And then we're punting
Cratch.
James Cratch to tomorrow.
Oh, to tomorrow?
Yeah, because Adrian Peterson's about to take over the show.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
You don't even know me. Meeting inspiring individuals from all walks of life.
When people see someone helping another person, I think it's infectious.
This is what it means to be human. This is the story of us.
The story of...
All right, here we go.
Okay. Tomorrow at 9/8 Central on National Geographic.
Dunc and Holder, hour number 2, live at our NOLA.com Times-Picayune studios. If you missed any of hour number 1, sports1280.com, NOLA.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube page, and breaking news just a couple minutes ago. multiple reports, first reported by Diana Rossini of ESPN. Adrian Peterson has been traded to the Arizona Cardinals for a conditional draft pick. We don't know where it is. Usually a conditional draft pick would be anywhere from, say, 5th round, 6th round, 7th round. But the Adrian Peterson era has come and gone in New Orleans. I feel sorry for all of you that bought Adrian Peterson jerseys. They might become quickly antiques with the Saints, and it's an interesting day, but honestly, I think, Jeff, you and I were talking about this in the last segment when the news broke. This is the best move the Saints could have made because we know where the Saints need to go. It's Mark Ingram, it's Alvin Kamara. They've proven together they can be a very good tandem at running back with the Saints within their offense.
Yeah, I think the one question I would have is if Mark Ingram were to go down, what would they do as the lead back? Would Alvin Kamara slide into that role? Because let's face it, that is a position of attrition. Players go down all the time at running back. It's a collision position, and I'm not sure where they would go. Would they promote Daniel Lasco? Is he still on the practice squad or on the roster? I can't remember. But
well, Trey Edmonds is on the roster. I could tell you that much.
And that would cause a little bit of a concern for me because Kamara is so successful right now in that role he's in. And I think eventually he will be a lead back in the NFL. I don't think he's this small little satellite back like Darren Sproles. I think he can be a lead back in time. But right now he's thriving as the nickel back in the 2-minute offense and the receiving back out of the backfield. Would he be able to handle a larger role as the feature back?
Well, Daniel Lasco is on the practice squad, so I assume he's going to get elevated to being on the regular roster. And obviously there's a spot open on the roster, so you can quickly elevate him and have no problem. And look, we're going to go hit some phone lines, and I will say this. We're going to have Will Guillory on around 11:15, so we will be talking Pelicans. Look, big news there. Rajon Rondo out 4 to 6 weeks. The team confirming that actually this morning as well, that Rajon Rondo had sports hernia surgery, so we will have that. But let's hit the phone lines. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. Joshua in Sacramento, thanks for holding, bud. We had to get our opinions on the breaking news, and I'm assuming you're calling right away because of the breaking news. But Joshua, appreciate you jumping on the show. What you got, bud?
No problem, guys. Yeah, so kind of the same sentiments. I don't like this move as much as Adrian Peterson didn't really fit the scheme now. Mark Ingram has a history of being injured. I'm just looking at it. Every year he has either a turf toe injury, something with his hand or his rotator. I don't like the move to move. I think it's too soon. I think if we would have been patient, we would have been okay. What's the worst case? You've got 3 backs, and then it's a conditional pick. It's not even for a player. Or I understand he's older, but he's Adrian Peterson, and he still has a few good games left in the tank. So I think this is just a bad overall, just bad deal. And if this goes down as a bad deal, just chalk another one to Mickey Loomis making another terrible decision.
Hey, Joshua, appreciate the phone call. And, look, I can see it from that side of the coin where, okay, you lose depth and maybe some Adrian Peterson is still in there. I just feel like Sean Payton has handcuffed himself when they brought him in. There's no doubt about it. And he's put himself in a spot where, okay, you're not in a point where, I'm not appeasing Joe Schmo at running back. You're not appeasing a Hall of Famer, MVP, one of the best players to ever play football. And it could be taxing on a play caller. And look, Adrian Peterson's not one to hold his tongue. Look, he's going to express that, hey, I want to get involved. And you saw his role being diminished. And I just think, look, I don't disagree with the move. Joshua, I'm not going to be on that train. I think that the Saints, the fact that they got even something for him because and the trade deadline's, a couple of weeks away, and there are teams in desperate need for a running back. If they want to make a push, this is the time you do it because the teams where they have injuries, say Arizona, they're probably not calling you in 3 weeks because they could be done. They're trying to make a push to get back in this now, and so I think the Saints felt they had a suitor. Like you said, Bruce Arians and Sean Payton have a good relationship, and they got it done, and now you can go forward feeling good about your 1-2 combo. And, Jeff, I agree with you. I think Kamara is more than just a third down back. He can bring you more to the table, and I think they will with this move.
Yeah, I think the only thing that Joshua does make a good point, it was the point I was making earlier, if they do get an injury right now, that's a concern, but I don't think they could afford to worry about that. I think they were smart moving Peterson, and I think they probably were doing it to appease Adrian Peterson, to help him out in his career. He decided to come to New Orleans, kind of threw his hat in the ring here, and then circumstances changed, and his role probably changed with the on-field production of Alvin Kamara. We know that the Saints were high on Kamara from the get-go. Sean Payton has been bullish on Alvin Kamara since they got him in the draft, and then I'm sure they wanted to see how he would perform in games, and he's done nothing but shine so far, and I think probably exceeded expectations. And now that they see that he can shine in this role, Ingram is running extremely well, things changed. And so they made the decision, and you have to give them credit for that, not being stubborn and being afraid to make a trade of a player they just acquired. Sometimes you can exacerbate the problem by hanging on to a player because you're worried about public perception.
Joel Corey from CBSSports.com, he's a former agent and does a great job, salary cap guru and stuff. He has a tweet just now. Saints have a $1.54 million cap charge on Adrian Peterson for 2017. There's a $1.25 million cap charge for 2018. It's part of his signing bonus. So there will be some dead money attached to it. Is it enough to keep you away from making the deal done? No. I don't think. Look, we've seen the Saints navigate through
Reggie in Dallas.
Billions of dollars in poor cap space. Let's hit one more phone caller, and we will have to take a break, and then we'll go to Will Guillory. Let's go to Reggie in Dallas. Reggie, thanks for calling Dunc and Holder. What you got, Reggie?
Hey, how y'all doing, fellas?
Good.
Hey, I think, this is probably one of the best moves Loomis made, in my opinion. It's a win-win deal on both ends. You got Peterson. He gets to go to a team who he could coach now. He doesn't have to worry about getting Peterson in, getting snaps. You don't have to worry about controversy, stuff like that. Kamara and Ingram, they could, in my opinion, it'll help them focus more, knowing that they don't have nothing behind them to worry about and stuff like that. It's a win-win situation. You can't lose with the situation right here. It's the best move Loomis made in a long time, in my opinion.
Well, we haven't said that in a while.
Hey, Reggie. Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. Well, hey, you could say A.J. Klein was a pretty good move.
Yeah, that was a good move.
They've made some good moves. But this, to get rid of, say, someone that they knew wasn't working, and how often can you trade ever a 32-year-old running back who's number 3 on the depth chart clearly, and you traded him and you were still able to get something in season? I think that, look, the fact that injuries go down at that position in this league helped, and I think that I don't want to give them credit for making the signing in the first place, but B, the fact that they were able to move on, and like you said, Reggie, they can move on, no worries as far as appeasing people. Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, they can be both. They make you unpredictable on offense, and I think there's no more headaches for Sean Payton in the game planning area. He could just go about it, like you said, Reggie, and feel free and run his offense like he wants to.
And you know what? I agree with what Reggie said, and I think that both of you and I are on the same page on this. It didn't make sense when they brought him in, but once they did, they carved out a role for him. I think they had a vision for him, and then things changed when they were able to acquire Alvin Kamara. And give him credit. Look, they moved on from him. I think they're probably trying to help him find a better situation for his career because it didn't work out for him here once they were able to acquire Kamara.
Absolutely. We're going to switch gears here, and we will return to this conversation on Adrian Peterson. Once again, if you're just joining us, Adrian Peterson, according to multiple reports, been traded to the Arizona Cardinals for a conditional draft pick. So Adrian Peterson ends his Saints career with even fewer yards than C.J. Spiller. Would you thought you'd ever said that?
No, I would not.
C.J. Spiller, a whopping 100-some-odd rushing yards Adrian Peterson never even hit the century mark.
So, we hardly knew you, AP.
Yep, I'm good. See you later. Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara Show. But coming up next, Will Guillory, Pelicans beat writer for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Breaking news on him, on Rajon Rondo, 4 to 6 weeks sports hernia surgery. So we will talk with Will about that. Coming up, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
Clay Travis.
I'm a First Amendment absolutist.
Mornings 5 to 8.
I open up phone lines and
show.
let people just tee off on me and say I'm racist. Why do I do that? Because one, I know I'm not racist, and two, I think that allowing more voices to talk.
That's why you saw my eyes get big.
You did. That was hilarious. I was like, what happened?
Have you
I was like,
ever heard those
whoa.
commercials offering an easy way out of debt? It could be for a debt settlement company. Are they asking for huge upfront fees before any money goes to reducing your debt? Are they telling you to stop paying your credit card bills and collecting the money instead? Fortunately, there is a difference. Call the National Foundation for Credit Counseling today at 800-388-2227 or visit debtadvice.org. That's debtadvice.org. This has been a public service message from the NFCC.
Are you ready to ditch the itch this season and take your backyard back? With J&J Exterminating, getting rid of what's bugging you is what we do every day. From mosquitoes to ants to no-see-ums, J&J will make your pests go away. J&J provides mosquito one-time treatments for special occasions or misting systems that get rid of mosquitoes every day, all day long. Call J&J Exterminating, Louisiana's largest independent pest control firm with over 55 years experience.
J&J Exterminating, yeah.
Our military service members volunteer to protect us in the most dangerous places around the world. They step up. And when they are severely ill or injured, returning to their families is only the beginning of their long road home.
What's up, Will?
Provides these brave men and women what to continue their fight for independence at no cost for life. So now it's time for...
All right, 30 seconds.
...to step up. Join us at findwwp.org.
Shop Lowe's All for Fall event, where you'll find great deals to spruce up your great outdoors. Fall's the perfect time to focus on getting your lawn in shape, and now you can take care of it with up to 30% off select Scott seed and fertilizer. And add color to planters and garden beds with annual plants and flowers. Now 5 pints are just $5. All projects have a starting point. Start with Lowe's. Scott's offer valid 9/27 through 10/11. Plan offer valid 10/4 through 10/11. While supplies last, U.S. only.
What's up, Will?
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
When Boogie Cousins introduces you to the show, you've made it. Will Guillory covers the Pelicans for NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. Will, like I said, man, we had to bump you up early from your Wobble Wobble Wednesday appearance. I know you were disappointed on that, but look, news all over Airline Drive, and we thought you were going to be the biggest news of the day, but certainly the biggest news of the day, Pelicans-wise, Rajon Rondo, surgery, sports hernia surgery, out 4 to 6 weeks. Will, look, I know he injured himself a couple days ago, and I think Pelicans fans are having flashbacks of years past, more injuries. How are they going to handle this, Will?
It's going to be extremely tough, and I mean, it's fitting for this team that the projections right now, it looks like he'll probably miss the first 12 or so games of the season, because the past few seasons, the postseason chances of the Pelicans has pretty much been determined within the first 12 games of the season, which is extremely tough. Everybody knew that this team had to get off to a great start. I mean, Mick Loomis came on the show during the summer. Alvin Gentry talked about it on the show during the summer, how important it was for this team to kind of get it going this year, and they had to get off to a fast start to make that happen. So losing Rondo is extremely tough. I mean, they still have Drew Holiday in the building. You know, I'm expecting him to kick over the point guard until Rondo comes back. And, of course, DeMarcus Cousins is a great shot creator at the center position. But it's going to be a little while for them to figure out how to replace Rondo. I mean, he was a big part of the equation going into the season.
You know, I was looking at the roster going into this opening season, Will, and I think if you were going to lose anybody, you never want to lose someone like Rondo, but if you were going to lose somebody, he might be the easiest person to replace just because Drew Holiday's been the point guard here for a while, and the acquisitions they've made in the last month or so, they've got plenty of options now on the wing. What do you expect them to do? You expect them to slide Holiday into that point guard spot, and then who steps up into that open spot where Drew was at?
Yeah, I'd expect them to kick Drew Holiday over to point guard. And in Sunday's preseason game, they started E'Twaun Moore at shooting guard. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the plan going forward, just because Gentry has talked in the past how much he likes, Moore's versatility, his ability to shoot threes, kind of switch on the perimeter. So I wouldn't be surprised if they play him alongside Drew Holiday. But I think one of the like you said, one of the things this team has that a lot of teams around the NBA doesn't have is a presence like DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis as well, two big guys that can kind of create on their own. They don't necessarily need a Rondo to create their shots. Now, it would have helped having Rondo. They wouldn't need to do as much work to get their shots, but I think DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis are more than capable of, taking up some of that responsibility on their shoulders, creating on offense, and I think Drew Holiday can do a little bit of that as well. So I'd expect, DeMarcus to do a little bit more this year, kind of the point boogie thing everybody was hoping to see with Chris French coming in. I was kind of skeptical about that going into the season, but I think without Rondo, I think we're certainly going to see some of that, at least through the first couple weeks of the year.
Will Guillory covers the Pelicans for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Join us right here on Dunc and Holder. Jeff Dunc and Larry Holder here with you from our NOLA.com Times-Picayune studios. Will, Pelicans 1-2 this preseason. They take on Memphis at Memphis, Friday night final preseason game, and then they will take on Memphis at Memphis Wednesday, October 18th to open the regular season. Just your overall thoughts on what you've seen through practice sessions that you've seen in the first 3 preseason games.
Well, I think the number one thing pretty much everybody around this team wanted to see going into the regular season was DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis kind of figuring out how to work together, how to work off each other to kind of make each other more effective. I think last year when the DeMarcus Cousins trade first went down, it was kind of in the middle of the season, later in the season after All-Star break. A lot of NBA teams don't have practice. They don't really have time to kind of put in new sets or introduce new guys. So when you introduce a piece like DeMarcus Cousins, where he's going to take up so many possessions at the end of the day, it's going to take time to kind of figure out how to work him in with a presence like Anthony Davis. And I think especially in the game on Sunday against Chicago, you saw those two guys working in tandem, kind of not getting in each other's way, both of them having a big game on the same night. Anthony Davis had 37. DeMarcus Cousins almost went for a triple-double. So I think that's the number one thing you wanted to see, and they're showing signs that they can be a really dynamic duo, and they need that now more than ever without Rondo.
Yeah, Will, and I tell you, looking around the league, it's going to be a battle every night in the Western Conference. I mean, the balance of power is so far shifted to the West that the Pelicans could be, and I think everybody agrees, they're going to be a better team. They're going to be greatly improved. But how far can they climb the ladder in the Western Conference with so many powerful teams now, with what's gone on in OKC in the offseason, Houston acquiring Chris Paul? We know the Warriors, the defending champs, they're not going anywhere. What do you think is a realistic expectation for this team this year? Do you think the playoffs are realistic?
I still believe the playoffs are realistic, just like because of what we said earlier in this conversation. They kind of have ways to figure out how to, make things work without Rondo in the lineup. Now, the beginning of the schedule is extremely tough, and I think they're going to have to come out with at least a somewhere around 500 record after these first 12 to 14 games if they even want to be in contention, because, like you said, the West is just so tough. And even if the Pelicans do make a 10-game improvement this year on the win-loss record, that probably still won't be enough to get them into the playoffs. So they're going to have to make some big jumps here, and without Rondo for the first few weeks. So the Western Conference is just so tough, and I mean, they're going to have to play really well. I still think they have a chance to sneak in there, maybe that 7th, 8th seed, but they're going to have to play really well and get out of this first stretch of the season with their heads above water, because if you fall 6, 8 games under 500 in the West, I mean, it's just too many good teams. You're not going to be able to make up that kind of margin.
Will Guillory covers the Pelicans for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Join us right here on Dunc and Holder. Hey, Will, one more and we'll let you run. Who is maybe a player that's kind of stood out to you, that's been kind of a pleasant surprise, and who maybe are you looking for more from heading into the regular season?
Yeah, I think one of the guys I've been pleasantly surprised with during the preseason is Ian Clark, a guy who played for the Golden State Warriors the past few years. Kind of under the radar signing for the Pelicans during the offseason. He's a guy that can kind of play that 1-2 position. I'm expecting him to get a few more minutes now with Rondo gone, and he's kind of just fills that role the Pelicans need, a guy that can spot up, hit threes from the perimeter, kind of switch on defense. And he'll have a lot of opportunities to kind of score a lot more than he did in Golden State. And he showed him the ability to kind of blow up and go for 20, 30, even 30 points he had in the game last year. So he's shown the ability to kind of get hot and score a lot of points, and they'll probably need that from him at least a few times during the season. And a guy, I think it's obvious the guy that has to step up right now without Rondo is Jrue Holiday. He had an okay game against Chicago. He scored 19 points, I believe, in the Chicago game, and they kind of need him to play with that same type of aggression. And he'll have to – the reason you brought in Rondo was to kind of prevent Jrue Holiday from having the responsibility of being that creator and scorer at the same time for the offense. But as of right now, he's going to have to take on that role at least for a few weeks, and DeMarcus Cousins is going to take some of that off of his shoulders, but he's going to have to play really well. He's going to have to be big for this team, at least for the first few weeks of the season. And they gave him the big contract. They put a lot of confidence in him. So now he's got to kind of, live up to those expectations.
Will Guillory, hey, bud, appreciate the time as always. And get ready because your busy time's really coming. Regular season starts next week. So, hey, Will, appreciate the time as always. And next time we'll keep it to Wobble Wobble Wednesday for Will. It's all alliteration all the time. I know. Total blame Rajon Rondo for having surgery. It's his fault. You had to jump up early.
Will needs to be a guest every Wednesday. Let's make him a standing guest on Wednesdays.
Wobble Wobble Wednesday for Will.
Will.
I agree. Exactly.
We'll sell some kind of sponsorship there.
Hey, I think Boogie would approve.
I like how you're thinking.
Boogie would approve. He's always wondering what's up with Will. So, hey, bud, appreciate it as always.
Thanks, Will.
All right, talk to you guys later.
All right, shifting the conversation back, 2 open segments. We're going to have James Cratch on from NJ.com. We're going to push him to tomorrow. Thanks for being understanding, James. As if you haven't heard, breaking news, Adrian Peterson has been traded to the Arizona Cardinals, according to several reports. And we've already got some dancing gifts from Larry Fitzgerald. He's happy with the move because maybe there's someone, in football years a little older than him on the team now, and he's not the total senior citizen by himself. So we'll talk Adrian Peterson. We want your reaction. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved here on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
Your forecast on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
All right, 3.5 minutes.
All right, bud.
Farmers Market.
From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Bruce Katz. For your Tuesday through the afternoon, we're expecting another warm and muggy day. Spotty showers by the afternoon at 30 to 40% with a high of 88. Now tonight, any rain ends with lows in the mid to upper 70s. And tomorrow for Wednesday, another 30% chance of rain. Still warm and humid, 88 your high. Then Wednesday night into Thursday, a cool front moves in. Not going to be much cooler on the temperature. However, we will notice the humidity coming down. And it looks like we do dry out for a nice looking weekend. From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Bruce Katz with
live
your
viership
weather
went up
forecast.
from 7 at the start
Crescent
of the show
City
to
Farmers
56.
Market returns to the French Market District every Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. beginning October 18th with live music and an assortment of local fresh produce, seafood, and products. Learn more at FrenchMarket.org.
Our military service members volunteer to protect us in the most dangerous places around the world. They step up. And when they are severely ill or injured, returning to their families is only the beginning of their long road home.
Next, Adrian Peterson
Wounded
will be the
Warrior
Pope.
Project provides these brave men and women wherever
Waka
they
waka.
need to continue their fight for independence at no cost for life. So now it's time for a
in the
grateful
future,
nation to step
let me
up.
do this.
Join us
That way you
at
can have the phone
findwwp.org.
with the picks.
We believe
I'll
that
get
the
here
best
early and
Halloween
get this set up.
ever is yours for the
I
taking.
know.
That's why Halloween Costumes
I
lost track of time too.
I did. Yeah. So
I did.
let's just count on that. That way you have your
exclusively for
responsibility. I
Your
have
favorite movie,
mine.
your
I'll get this
favorite
thing
artist,
fixed.
Your favorite food.
And we can count on them.
From video games
Well, it's
to
running
fairy
fine,
tales.
obviously.
Yeah. No, we're having all kinds of conversations.
Yeah, it's running fine today.
HalloweenCostumes.com/iHeart. And why HalloweenCostumes.com/iHeart? Because we're partnering
Works
with them.
like the
Get
wind.
You
I don't know.
15% off. Go to HalloweenCostumes.com/iHeart.
YouTube
and
works like the
own
wind.
Halloween.
I mean, it's not buffering today at all.
I know it's been fine today.
The American
Didn't do anything
Migraine
different.
Foundation helps people living with migraine to find the support and treatment they need. Make your move against migraine at AmericanMigraineFoundation.org.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser. Louisiana is more than just a place to visit. It's our way of life, and that means being outdoors. Join the nearly 2 million
56 people
who
in there.
camp,
That's a lot.
paddle, and hike our state parks.
We
like
could
this.
also do a
And
show
we
on this
invite
damn
you to do the
Ditkus
same.
stuff.
Every corner of
No.
Louisiana has something to offer.
What
From
a-
the world-class fishing at
I mean,
Toledo
but
Bend
that's like
to
fodder.
paddling at Fountain
I mean,
Point,
my
to exploring
gosh.
the ancient mounds at Poverty Point World Heritage Site. So fill up your car and staycation right here in our home, Louisiana.
Join parents and experts
that
at understood.org,
Brian
a
Lamarck?
free online resource about learning and attention
Doing that
issues.
commercial?
designed
No,
to
that
help
was
you help your child
Billy
thrive in school
Nungesser.
and
Oh,
in
God.
life. Understood.org, because
I didn't know
understanding
that.
is everything. Brought
Gary
to you by
loves him.
Understood.org and the Ad Council.
Shop Lowe's All for Fall
Jesus
event, where you'll
crushing
find
him.
great deals to
I know.
spruce up your great outdoors. Fall's the perfect time to focus on getting your lawn in shape, and now you can take care of it with up to 30% off select Scott seed and fertilizer. And add color to planters and garden beds with annual plants and flowers. Now 5 pints are just $5. All projects have a starting point. Start with Lowe's. Scott's offer valid 9/27 through 10/11. Plan offer valid 10/4 through 10/11. While supplies last, U.S. only.
We bleed purple, green, blue, black, and gold. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Breaking news here this morning. About a half hour ago, 45 minutes ago. So, I guess that's still considered breaking. I mean, sometimes breaking news can last like 3 days. But breaking news, Adrian Peterson traded to the Arizona Cardinals for a conditional pick. Several reports out there confirming the story, and Diana Rossini from ESPN broke the story. But look, we've obviously talked Adrian Peterson a ton on this show. Huge name, huge accolades, and someone who we thought could become, I wouldn't say a huge problem, but we thought the acquisition could become a problem. And now they've kind of eliminated the problem. A distraction, because anytime Adrian Peterson speaks, he's going to be asked about carries, a lack thereof. He only had 6 snaps against the Dolphins. 4 carries, 4 yards. You knew the Saints were moving on, phasing him out. Other teams did too, but the fact that they were able to trade him, at least they got something for him. And they're going to eat some money, but that's like a Tuesday, literally, on the Saints. They eat money all the time, every year, all the time.
I'll be interested to watch Peterson's development and career in Arizona, because we really didn't get to see him here. He never really got into a groove because of the lack of touches. He's going to get that chance in Arizona, and I'm interested to see how it plays out. I didn't see it on the field. I didn't see that burst or that lateral agility. He looked like a 30-something-year-old running back coming off knee injuries, frankly. Maybe he gets that in Arizona. They do have a good offensive line, so we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. But we all knew that going forward, Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara, they were the obvious 1-2 punch at running back, and the Saints needed to go that direction. They started it with the Dolphins game. It wasn't totally that in the other games, but look, when they were trying to split carries with Adrian and Ingram that first game, it didn't work. Then they decided, all right, we're going to revert back to Mark Ingram getting the majority of the carries among the running backs. And now you've seen Alvin Kamara through a couple of weeks, and he's been an explosive player. You need to use him more and not feel like you're handcuffed with Adrian Peterson.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt about it. If Kamara does not perform the way he did in the first month, they don't make this trade. But I think the confidence that they have in him now, along with Ingram, it just eliminates, like you said, another issue, another thing for Sean Payton to have to worry about. The only concern I have is if Ingram were to go down, how they would play that in the backfield. But Ingram's been durable of late. I know he's been hurt early in his career, and it is a position where you get hurt. But he has been a very durable player, and I think they've kind of found the sweet spot for Ingram and the amount of touches he gets. And he's been very productive in the fourth quarter as well. So, look, I like the move. I just didn't like the move to begin with.
Right. We've been very vocal about that, and at times unpopular. Imagine that, Jeff. Sometimes we say things and humanity doesn't agree, and look, we don't say it just because we want to be contrarians. We say it because we've covered this team for, I don't know, I've covered it for more than a decade. You've covered it nearly 2 decades. I forget, maybe more than 2 decades.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Were you around when Archie was quarterback, his rookie year? I
remember Gary Quazzo. That was a good move.
I don't even know who that is.
Gary Quazzo? Come on, Larry.
Gary Quazzo? What
Gary
does that even mean?
Quazzo was the Baltimore Colts backup quarterback to Johnny Unitas that the Saints traded the #1 overall pick in 1967 to take. Instead of having the #1 overall pick in the draft, they got Gary Quazzo to be their quarterback, and he didn't even win the starting job, and they could have had Bubba Smith, Hall of Fame defensive tackle, in the draft. That's the start of the Saints' errors in trade.
Oh, you mean Bubba Smith, the guy who's more famously known for being in Police Academy? That's how I know Bubba Smith. I
forgot about that.
That's all I know him as. Football.
Bubba Smith's a Hall of Famer.
Police Academy,
do you know where Bubba Smith went to college? That's a good little trivia question.
I don't know.
North Texas. Can you imagine? He was probably killing people at North Texas back then.
Yeah, exactly.
But they identified him out of North Texas. He's the #1 pick in the draft and ends up being a Hall of Famer. And, of course, the Saints had Gary Quazzo, who could not beat out Billy Kilmer. And this pretty much was a sign of things to come for the early
many
Saints.
years, for quite a while. To get involved, 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. What do you think? Adrian Peterson, good move, bad move, what's your think? We've had callers call in on both sides of the coin, really. One saying they're wondering about whether or not you guys are going to, the Saints are going to have enough depth there, and other people are saying how it's a miracle that they were even able to get rid of him. So it's certainly something interesting there. So absolutely want to get your take. But look, we can go through what you got with Mark Ingram, and you have 16 games he played last year. So it's the most he played since the 2012 season. And he's played every game this year. And you look at it, and I do think you're right. I do think he has found his sweet spot as far as touches. And I think that's going to change. I don't think that's going to change. Now, do I see Alvin Kamara being able to get more touches and be more involved in the running game? I think there's no doubt about it. And I think that's what they want to do. And
Kevin,
you look at it, and that's where they're going to go. So let's hit the phone lines, 504-260-1280. Kevin in New Orleans. Kevin, thanks for calling Dunc and Holder. What you got?
Hey, fellas. How y'all doing?
Good.
Doing great.
Good. Got a quick question. I didn't know the answer to this. Maybe you can update me on this. We had traded a 7th-round pick to the Eagles for that long snapper, that had that illness. I think he had a heart condition.
Right. Correct.
Did we still have to give up that pick to the Eagles, or how did that go?
No, I'm pretty sure that the Saints were able to get that pick back because of the pre-existing condition. I think the Eagles basically just said,
yeah,
hey,
both sides, yeah, they understood, and so yeah, the Saints did not have to give that pick up. So maybe they just add another one. So along the line, and they added a 5th-round pick for Stephen Anthony. So they're at least building some. They got a draft cap.
That's rare for the Saints.
Right, exactly.
Like maybe 5 picks.
No, you're right, and that's a good point, Kevin.
More than 7 this year.
Well, that's a good point, because more than likely that's what this pick is. It's probably like a conditional pick. In other words, the conditions will be on what kind of playing time Adrian Peterson gets in Arizona, what kind of production he has on the field, and then it could move up. Maybe it moves up to another 5th-round pick. That's generally how these conditional picks are termed. It'll all come down to how much production Adrian Peterson gets in Arizona, and it could turn into a better pick. But right now, I would guess it's like a 7th-rounder. It's probably nothing more than that.
Yeah, well, I'm happy on multiple fronts. I'm happy for Adrian because I really like to see him build in his career, not just sitting on the bench. At least have an opportunity to get some carries with the team. I'm happy for the Saints. We were able to, get a pick out of this deal. And I'm happy for myself because I got Adrian in my fantasy league, so maybe he'll start scoring some points now.
What about Ingram and Kamara? You should have them, and then you'd be really ready to go. Come on.
I got Kamara, too, in one league.
There you go.
Starting this week for me now.
All right, there you go. All right, hey, appreciate the phone call, Kevin. Let's hit the phone lines, 504-260-1280. Steve in Sacramento. Steve, thanks for calling Dunc and Holder. What you got?
Hey, good morning, guys. Personally, I like the move. I didn't understand us picking it, and part of me thinks it's Sean going back to the Seattle game, the playoff games when he didn't have him running back, so he's always going to have extra running backs. But I like the move. Get AP out there, let him do his thing. And Kamara needs the ball more. Ingram needs the ball more. I like to see what we have in Lasco and Edmonds if something happens. But, you know, I think it was a smart play by the Saints.
Yeah, I agree. I think we both agree on that, Steve. This was one time when they actually, I think, universally will be praised for making a trade. Even though it's going to cost them a little dead money on the books, it's not significant enough in the grand scheme of things, I think, to hang on to Peterson. I think the cons would outweigh the pros of having him there. So I agree. I think everybody probably is on board with this, and it's probably going to help Adrian Peterson out. And I know people have said, hey, he wouldn't have got traded if he had a better attitude. I don't think he had a terrible attitude. I think he just wanted to win, and he wanted the ball. I think sometimes that gets overplayed a little bit, and I think they probably wanted to help him out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Steve, appreciate the phone call. On Twitter, Ian Rappaport, of course, from the NFL Network, in a tweet saying, new Arizona Cardinals running back Adrian Peterson in a text to Stacey Dales, who is an NFL Network reporter, quote, I'm so ecstatic, end quote. So I think he knew that he wasn't going to be part of the Saints' plans as it mapped out, and he sees an opportunity in Arizona, and I understand that. I don't think he has any massive ill will. He knew the situation he was getting into. They understood, and he was frank when we would speak to him about his role. He knew he was not going to be the bell cow. He knew he was not going to be getting 30 carries a game. Drew Brees is running the offense. Mark Ingram's coming off a 1,000-yard a year, and they've got an impressive guy with Alvin Kamara. So I agree with you. I don't think Adrian Peterson was this bad guy in the locker room. I think people respected the hell out of him. And it just, look, his age and the people around him, it all added up to him being the number 3 guy. And now he could be the number 1 guy.
Well, Ross Tucker does just tweet saying that the Saints paid Adrian Peterson $2.8 million for 4 games.
That's not good.
Yeah, he says there's a reason certain teams always have cap issues. We know the Saints have had problems in the past, but on the field, let's forget off the field, on the field, I think they had to make this move.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go to Chuck and Kenner. Chuck, thanks for calling Dunc and Holder. What you got, Chuck?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Great, Chuck. How you doing, bud?
I think this was a good move for the Saints, you know, and for Adrian. So I agree with y'all that it was the best move for everybody all around. The other thing that I wanted to tell you, though, was Bubba Smith played at Michigan State, and Mean Joe Green.
That's who I'm thinking of. Good gosh.
F-, Jeff. Oh, wow. Burn. Get the Prices Right horn out for
That's
you.
Right.
Chuck and Kenner just owns Jeff Duncan. Atta boy, Chuck.
Thank you for correcting me.
Atta boy.
All right. And the reason, you there?
Yeah, but I had the trade right, correct? It was Bubba Smith.
And the reason, and part of the reason that he was Mean Joe Green from, you know, with the Pittsburgh Steelers is because North Texas's nickname is the Mean Green.
That's true. I did know that. That's one thing I did know.
You know.
But I did have the scenario right, Chuck, that they traded for Gary Cuozzo and could have had Bubba Smith, and they didn't.
Right.
All right, that my.
And Bubba Smith got hurt in a preseason game and wasn't near the player. I mean, he was a great player, but he wasn't near the player. He tripped over the yard markers, you know, over the chain.
Oh, boy.
And tore his knee up.
Oh.
He didn't play that first year.
There we go. Perfect.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure the Saints do that. They didn't take him. They made that trade because they knew he was going to trip over a yard marker.
Yeah.
So prescient.
Exactly. Look, they knew it all back then. Hey, Chuck, appreciate it. Look, I don't give you grief about Louisville. I don't give you grief about anybody.
You don't give me grief about Louisville. You mention it every show.
No, I don't.
There's nothing I can say.
Plenty of other people do.
We have to take our lumps on this one. But I do deserve that. I totally spaced, but that's what happens when you get to be 53 years old and you try to use your own recall.
Well, I called
I
called Ed Dixon, Eric Dickerson, whatever. So whatever. Hey, that's okay.
Brutal.
That's
brutal.
okay.
But I appreciate the call, Chuck, and keeping us on our toes.
There you go.
I think we have a lively phone call line today.
Brandon, River Ridge.
Exactly. So let's take one more phone call. Before we take our final break here on Dunc and Holder. Brandon in River Ridge. Brandon, thanks for calling the show. What you got, Brandon?
Hey, I was just calling in because I don't appreciate Larry making fun of Jeff when Larry doesn't even know who Gary Quazzo is.
That's all right.
Thank you,
Brandon. I know Sean Knight. He was a draft bust. He stinks. There you go.
I mean, you got to know Gary Quazzo, right?
I'm protective of Jeff.
Brandon, you have to know Gary Quazzo's name if you've had any relationship with the Saints and covering them over the years.
And you know what's embarrassing to me is he went to the same high school as I did. Now he's giving Rummel a bad name. It's really hard.
I've been getting Rummel slack all week. I mean, only phone caller we got on Monday's show, because, Monday's show is usually pretty jam-packed, and it was to rip me for Rummel, losing Holy Cross. What's up with that? Come on, man. Everybody coming after me.
Well, you need to... I'm just teasing with you. Do some studying, Larry, but we still like you.
There we go. See, they still like me.
Thanks,
at least.
Brandon. I appreciate the support. Pointing out that Gary Quazzo is the ultimate. I mean, when you do a list of bad trades, bad acquisitions, I mean, he's in the top 2 or 3 all time. Even with the Brandon Browner and these new school fans that have come aboard and think that's the worst acquisition, no. You had the number 1 pick in the entire draft, and you traded it for a backup quarterback that never started. Well, I think he started.
There's some other bad trades.
Games.
There's some other bad ones.
That one's up there.
Maybe I'll go do some history lessons. What? You know who his history is Adrian Peterson. Barely knew you here in New Orleans.
Nice segue.
Woo-hoo! Radio gold, baby.
Hot take.
One more second. No, it's not. That is the coldest take ever. Adrian Peterson. Yeah. Good luck. Good luck.
At least the one good thing we've got going for us here is we don't have to worry about this APAD thing anymore.
All day.
There's one AD here.
Right.
That's Anthony Davis.
Yes, not Adrian Peterson. Yeah, exactly. So if you're just joining us, Saints have traded Adrian Peterson to the Arizona Cardinals, according to a bunch of reports out there. And we will take your reactions the rest of the show. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. Or you could just call and rip us. I mean, hey, rip Jeff, rip me, rip everyone. Who cares? So come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder. I do know who that is.
that it is. Chris Gordy.
I just had to
figure it out. 6 and 10, 5 and 11.
No, I knew it, and I was just like, oh, never heard of him. And I was just
Gary Quazzo. I thought you meant Brandon and
No.
Drew opt out and leave.
I just had to play like the young
whippersnapper.
Yeah, like what was that?
Like it's created some
Anderson windows and
internal debate. I like it.
Yep, just caught me, YouTubers. Just caught me.
You're in luck. You're also in good company.
Forgot about that. I'm gonna
Oh, I can have a little fun. YouTubers,
satisfaction with
call me
Windows
Skip
and
Bayless
Windows.
Jr. Just
So stop waiting and start saving.
Yeah, just make well.
Windows and
No,
Windows
someone
15%
emailed
off now.
saying, "Oh, you
At the
guys
Home
know
Depot.
you could hear us."
More
I guess it's the first
After
YouTuber to
11
jump on there. But
seasons.
yep, we are live during commercials. Our YouTube nation.
By storing your retirement at home with an Augusta home delivery
So we
Gold
can't-
IRA.
Well,
Augusta
it's the
today
internet.
at
You could
888-852-4788
scream about nonsense all you want.
For a free guide on transferring a portion of your IRA or
Appreciate the
401k
audience,
into
guys.
approved physical gold and silver coins and store them in your safe at home or at your local bank. Call 888-852-4788.
All right, 1 minute.
And discover how you can get up to $2,000 in silver free. Call 888-852-4788. That's 888-852-4788.
Who's the mayor of New York? Cuomo?
Do you
or
want
is he the
more from
governor?
your child's education?
Cuomo?
Do you want them to be
Governor, I think.
surrounded
Yeah.
by knowledgeable
I was
and
gonna say that,
professional
but I
staff
couldn't
and
remember
teachers?
I'm
Then
not 100%
consider
sure.
Paul
Don't-
L.
it's
Dunbar
like take my
School, serving students
Bubba
from
Smith word for
pre-kindergarten
it.
to the 8th grade.
Jesus
Dunbar
Christ.
provides students with access to brand new state-of-the-art facilities and teachers
Totally
who are
screwed that
dedicated
up.
to their success.
Embarrassing.
Find out more. Go to enrollnola.org.
Yeah, Andrew Cuomo. He was the governor of Well, he's still the governor of New York.
Hello, I'm Ally McGraw for People for the Ethical
I know. That's what I was showing you.
Our animal companions rely on us, especially during a natural disaster. If you're forced to evacuate your home, do not leave your animals behind. Visit helpinganimals.com.
Cut my life into pieces. This is my last resort.
Dunc and Holder now. Josh Innes next at noon on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Adrian Peterson is ecstatic to be an Arizona Cardinal. That, according to the NFL Network's Stacey Dales. Apparently, she reached out to him via text. Adrian Peterson is so ecstatic. I'm waiting for him to be so excited like Jesse Spano was in Saved by the Bell. So, you ever heard of that? Jesse Spano, Saved by the Bell?
No,
She's so
I've
excited.
not watched 1 minute.
She's so excited. She's so scared.
Not watched 1 minute of Saved by the Bell. That's
shows you where you are.
That shows you how old I am.
You are thinking about, prehistoric trades. I'm thinking about when Jesse Spano got hooked on Keep Alert, a fake caffeine pill. Just heads up.
Who played that role?
Elizabeth Berkley, man. The girl. She's in Showgirls.
Showgirls.
She was the prostitute in Any Given Sunday that Al Pacino wanted to be in love with, but she was like, "Nah, dude, no dice for you."
Wow. I think maybe I need to do a binge watch on Saved by the Bell.
I thought you could do a binge watch on Showgirls.
I also need to catch up on my Star Wars because obviously I'm completely out of touch with the rest of America in the craze of Star Wars.
Greatest trailer ever, Jeffrey.
I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to be open-minded on this because the early Star Wars I did like, and so what you're saying, Dave, is these latter-day ones, these modern ones are still of that quality?
Absolutely. Even better because now they have computers and stuff.
Yeah, instead you just had to have a bunch of people dressed up in the furry bear costumes and running around and being Ewoks, right?
Or build little miniatures and just, go pew, pew, pew.
Exactly. Jeff, go get your Jabba Fett T-shirt and show up there. Just make up your own character. But no, if you're just joining us, Adrian Peterson traded to the Arizona Cardinals, no longer a New Orleans Saint. Never even reached the 100-yard mark in his Saints career running the football. And we've got a couple more minutes. We'll take your phone calls. If you want to jump in on the trade, bad deal to even get Adrian Peterson in the first place, or you're concerned that the Saints have a lack of depth at running back now without Adrian Peterson. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. And, yeah, Jeff, just to kind of reiterate, we have been – when Adrian Peterson was signed, we have been on the bandwagon that, look, the Saints needed a number 2 running back. We would not have this hubbub around anyone else, even if it was, say, Chris Johnson. Look, now the Cardinals have 2 running backs that have each rushed for 2,000 yards in one season. I think there's only been 7 in NFL history that's even done that. Now they have 2 of them. But, look, you wouldn't have had this – you wouldn't have had an interest to trade your backup running back if it would have been some other name. But the fact that Adrian Peterson was the name on that number 2 running back spot kind of brought this into national prominence. It was really, think about this, it was the only real national storyline for the Saints going into this season. And now he's gone, and it's just going to be like, oh, well, he's gone, and it's not going to be a big deal.
Yeah, it was amazing. When we were over in London, Adrian Peterson was a huge media request. There were all kinds of reporters requesting Adrian Peterson, and I think in the local media corps, we were kind of puzzled by it because we'd seen how Peterson had kind of been rendered a role player and really was not relevant in the Saints offense. But yet the international media was clamoring at the door to get Adrian Peterson for interviews, and we were thinking, wow, this is a backup running back that's probably only going to play a handful of snaps on Sunday, and yet you want to talk to him about what? And so, yeah, his reputation far exceeded his on-field production, at least here in New Orleans.
Well, and you remember throughout the offseason, players are gushing over Adrian Peterson. He's moving faster than he has when he was from 10 years ago, super fit. And like I said, I think even myself was a little guilty of watching practice, doing observations, and you're trying to see what the Saints see as far as, oh, wow, they see a vision for him. And then you might see him make a juke here or two and go straight line and get 10, 12-yard gain in a practice in Los Angeles against the Chargers. And you're almost trying to force your way into seeing that. But, look, you get to game time. It wasn't there. And the Saints saw it. That's why his snaps drifted and drifted and drifted. And healthy guy on the sideline, 6 total snaps, 4 carries in the Saints win against the Dolphins. The Saints have clearly moved on.
And I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in Arizona, like I said earlier, because Chris Johnson has not played very well. I mean, he basically was released, I think, after he had a really bad preseason. Then they brought him back when Johnson got hurt. He's kind of on the downside of his career. I don't know what the direction is in Arizona. I think they are really in trouble. Like I said, just a couple of years ago, they were the toast of the town. They'd gone to the Super Bowl and were a trendy Super Bowl pick. Carson Palmer was being discussed as an MVP candidate.
Yeah, when they got to the NFC title game, and it exploded there because they stunk in that game. And
Carolina, right?
And they haven't been the same since.
They were the subject of, what was it, a Showtime, or what was the documentary?
Maybe it was Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon. They were the trendy team. Well, they were getting a lot of nice free agent pickups, but man, their star has fallen, and I think Bruce Arians is probably going to be in trouble out there if they don't turn around quickly. I don't see how they're going to turn it around.
Yeah,
I know there's frustration with Patrick Peterson. I didn't see it. You said he threw like a tantrum on the sideline.
Not as bad as Antonio Brown, but he went a little nuclear on the sideline. And so look, Larry Fitzgerald looks like he's excited via Twitter. Adrian Peterson sounds excited. I'm betting Sean Payton is excited because he can rest a little easier. He doesn't have to worry about upsetting someone who he highly respects as a football player. I'm just going to say as a football player. I think people know where I'm going with that. And yet, you don't have to worry about trying to force-feed him the football. And look, the Saints weren't doing that anyway. And now, clean slate, Adrian Peterson can go to Arizona, probably jump in, maybe not, I'm sure not this week, but maybe the following week and get the bell cow load of carries. And we'll see if Carson Palmer and Adrian Peterson and Larry Fitzgerald and any other player, I guess they're going to go get T.O. maybe Ocho, get the all old geezer team and just get the band back together again.
Yeah, look, I think we agree. It's a good move for the Saints. They're going to have to eat some money, but that's nothing unusual. I mean, Lord knows they've made so many cap mistakes over the years that have hamstrung this team. And, our own Josh Kotzenstein and I have talked about this. It's a classic Saints move, right? Bring in Adrian Peterson to begin with. Cost you some cap room.
Champ Bailey, Brandon Brown, or C.J. Spiller, you can
James
go on.
Laurinaitis.
Yeah, you can go on and on. Great show today. Appreciate all of the interaction. Want to thank Pat Forde for jumping on. Want to thank Chris Dabe. Want to thank Will Guillory. We'll have an action-packed show tomorrow. I'm telling you, don't miss tomorrow's show. But if you missed any of today's show, sports1280.com, NOLA.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Dave, thanks for making it happen back in the studio. Once again, Adrian Peterson, an Arizona Cardinal, no longer with the Saints, traded away.
5 seconds.
We'll be back tomorrow here on Dunc and Holder. See ya.
Each morning before you wake.
Woo! All right, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks,
Get
Dave.
under the wire. All right, guys. See you tomorrow.
All right, buddy. Thanks, YouTubers.
Yep.
Then the alarm bell rings and no one's cooking you anything.
Woo!
Real life is hard.
How you doing?
When your morning is hell, have breakfast with a fried egg shell.
Introducing the new Naked Egg Taco. Crispy bacon, seasoned potatoes, and milk.